My name's Matthew Collins. I'm a financial advisor. We have our own AFSL, and my business partner and I have owned our business for 9 years, and prior to that I was with Genesis and Associated Planners from 1997-98.
What's the name of your practice?
Financial Decisions. Our head office is at Mona Vale, and we've got an office in the city as well.
Excellent. Now, how long have you been an advisor?
Since the end of 1997, beginning of 1998.
Okay. Now, obviously, you didn't plan becoming an advisor when you were a school kid. What did you want to be when you were a school kid?
I wanted to be a carpenter because I wanted to be able to knock off at 3 or 4 o'clock and go to the beach. But when I told my father that at the end of year 10, he said, "I didn't pay all that money for your education so that you could be a carpenter. Think again." And so then I went into the financial markets. Just a friend of mine was working for a French merchant bank, Banque Indosuez, who later became BNP. And he called me up and said, "Do you want a job as in the back office at one of these institutions?" And I didn't even know what a merchant bank was, but I'd finished my HSC 3 days before and was sitting around with not much to do and thought, "Oh yeah, I'll give that a lash." And went on from there.
So were you about, 17 when you got into the industry then?
So yeah, I was about 17 or 18 when I went into the financial markets, and eventually I became a trader in currencies and things like that. I went and spent some time in New Zealand working for the Bank of New Zealand. Then I came back here and worked for Security Pacific, who got bought by Bank of America. Then I was at Dresdner Bank, and then I was at a couple of broking houses that people wouldn't know who they were. But yeah, I did about 11 years there. It was good fun.
So how did you make that transition over to financial advice?
Well, working as a trader in those days was a bit of a young man's game, and I found that my desire to go out of a night and socialise with all of the people in the markets was diminishing. And if you weren't prepared to play that game, it was difficult to remain at the top of your game and do really well. And I had 3 children at the time that were very young, and I would rather have gone home and seen them, and I could see that my ability to earn an income had levelled out. Now, I could have made a good living from it. I was making a good living from it, but I thought a point comes in your life where you think, this is as far as I'm going to go in this industry, and is this it? Is this am I at the peak of the mountain, and is it just going to be levelled out from here on and it won't grow anymore? And so my father had harassed me for many years to consider coming into the financial services industry, and I'd resisted, but I really didn't understand what he did that well. So one day I went and saw him and said, "All right, why don't you explain to me how it works and what you do?" And I said, "How much money can I make?" Because I had a mortgage, I had 3 kids, and I would be starting from scratch. And Dad said, "You can make as much money as you like. There are guys that make a lot of money, make more money than you're making in the financial markets, but it depends on how hard you're prepared to work and how uncomfortable you're prepared to get to make a success of yourself." So once he'd explained it to me, I started meeting with him weekly on a Saturday, and he would train me up in some of the soft skills and explain how the industry worked. And while I was still working as a broker for Tullett & Tokyo, and then towards the end of 1997, I left Tullett's and I started my own business. I didn't want to work for Dad. I'd lived with him for 20 odd years, and that was enough. And so I was happy to work with him. Dad, I would still consider my father to be, if he's not my best friend, he's one of my best friends. We get on really well. So I was happy to work with him. I just didn't want him to be my boss. So we shared office space, and he paid for the office space and he let me use his staff, but whatever I made was my own.
What else do you do when you're not being an advisor, when you're not dealing with clients?
Well, I've got 5 children, 3 who still live with me, and they consume a fair bit of time and energy. Having 4 women at home with me is challenging. So it's fun, but it's challenging. Sons are much easier than daughters. I heard an MDRT speaker say this year that happy wife, happy life is not really right. Happy daughter, happy life. He said, if your daughter is unhappy, everybody in the house is unhappy. And he said, if your daughter's happy, there's an opportunity for everybody else to be happy. And I think that's true. So I've got the kids. I do a little bit of gym work. I like going to the gym. My son Timothy and I, Tim's in the business with us, we do a little bit of training together. And I've been involved in Mona Vale Surf Club in the surf boats since I was 13 odd years old. So I still sweep surf boats competitively, and that involves an awful lot of time in the summertime. So that would consume a great deal of my time.
The surf boats, have you won anything? Have you got any pennants on the wall, any trophies in the cabinet?
Well, over the course of 34 years of competition, obviously we have good years and bad years. So yeah, we've got a few national titles. I've been selected as the Australian team. We placed at a world title. I've won some events, and we have a pretty good crew. I've got some ex-Olympic rowers that row with us and that sort of thing. They're pretty talented athletes. They're all a lot bigger and younger and fitter than I am. So yeah, we've done okay.
Sounds like a good way to get some downtime to relax.
Yeah.
Apart from the education, you're a glass half full type of guy when it comes to the future of financial advice?
I am. I think that the government is being poorly advised as to how they should go about this, because I think that all Australians need financial advice. It's been proven that people who have an advisor will end up much better off than those that don't. But they've made it so that only the wealthy will be able to afford financial advice, because the cost of our complying is so great and the compliance burden is so onerous that it's expensive for us to run a business. We have a business that doesn't turn over a lot more than it did 5 or 6 years ago. We have 7 more staff than we used to. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of mouths to feed without increasing your turnover very much. Certainly we haven't increased it by as much as we've increased our salary bill. That might sound dumb, but it's difficult to comply.
An unrelated question, if you weren't doing what you're doing, obviously you're managing people, you're managing clients, you're doing a lot of stuff, but if you weren't a financial advisor, what would you do instead?
I'd be a cattle farmer.
A cattle farmer, why is that?
Oh, I have a cattle farm that I lease out to a cattle company, and I like the country. I've always liked the rural existence, and I've always enjoyed the country, and I like the cold mornings, and I don't know why, just that's always appealed to me, and one day that's where I'll retire, I'm sure.
Is that an item on your bucket list?
Well, I'm already doing it. It seems I already own the farm, and I get up there quite a bit. So yeah, one day that is what I'll do. But I would imagine, even if I did, I'd probably be a financial advisor in the country as well as doing that. I like what I do. I really like my clients. There's a lot of clients that I am really involved in their lives, and I enjoy their company, and it's a personal thing where I think that their success, I would take it very personally if they didn't reach their goals and if they weren't successful. So I would look after them even if they didn't pay me.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your time. Much appreciated.
Thanks.